I'm standing now at the grave of John Templeton. As you can see from the headstone, John Templeton died on the 15th of December 1825, aged 60 years, born on Bridge Street in Belfast about 1765. In fact, there was probably still a bridge across High Street at that time, and he was a friend of the Joy family and the McCracken family. And all of these families went to David Manson's school. He was a revolutionary, very positive teacher who found new, exciting ways to stimulate young children and to get them to learn. So this was a great background for these children who became families of the Belfast Enlightenment. This was a very inspiring, I think, period in Belfast history where people were valuing learning for its own sake. And John Templeton, as one of these, he was one of the founders of the Belfast Society for Promoting Knowledge. And this society eventually founded the Linen Hall Library, of which John Templeton was the organiser, the indexer of the records. This organisation also founded the Belfast Museum. John Templeton was the curator of that museum for more than 30 years. And this organisation, Belfast Society for Promoting Knowledge, also founded the Academical Institution, the first non-denominational school college in Ireland. And John Templeton was a great friend and supporter of the United Irishmen. They wanted a new Ireland, a new republic of equals, where everyone would have a dignified life and in an independent Ireland. But he kept to the background. He didn't step across the line as many of them did into violence to retaliate at their suppression from the government. Nonetheless, he lived in his house in Malone and he welcomed many of them there. The McCrackens in particular. Mary Ann McCracken was quite probably the chief bridesmaid at John Templeton's wedding. Thomas Russell in particular, one of the most committed of all the United Irishmen, he was a good friend of John Templeton's. They corresponded regularly. And the subject of their correspondence was mainly botanical. Because the remarkable John Templeton is remembered as the father of Irish botany. He lived in his house on the Malone Road and he wrote diaries. He observed nature. He travelled widely, particularly in the northern part of Ireland. He was very observant. He was very academic. He wrote. He also produced beautiful drawings, line drawings, coloured them of wildlife, including his property back down onto the bog meadows. So he went down there initially in his youth to shoot, and then he began to love nature and its creatures, and he began to draw and observe both the flora and the fauna of Ireland. And he was quite remarkable. He was going to produce a book, Flora Hibernica, though that book never happened, but he continued to gather the information, and all of his diaries from about 1806, I think it is, are still kept until he died. And he was a very observant man, not just of nature, but also the weather, the stars. He was a truly enlightened man. And his house, he renamed it. It was named Orange Grove because it was said that King William stopped there in June 1690 when he was leaving Belfast to go south, ultimately to the Battle of the Boyne. And John Templeton, he named the house Cranmore because he also had an interest in Irish language. And Cranmore is Irish for big tree. And in front of the house, he had planted chestnut trees. And although very old and very atmospheric, they're still there to this day in front of the ruin of Cranmore House, which is on private ground. So it's nice to stand here at John Templeton's grave and to remember him at the 200th anniversary of the death of this remarkable man.